Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Chris, for that. Yeah, so we'll continue from where we left. Let me see if you remember what we had covered. If you don't remember, then we'll start again. So you better remember. Who remembers anything, any takeaway so far? Nothing. Now I'm saying about the fundraising. Just pulled out the slides first. I want to ensure people remember. If not, we start again. And we may cover time for lunch if we are starting again. Yes, Ellie? Yeah, before starting the process, ensure your model is VC workable. There is a founder market fit and all those kind of things. What else?
The solution big.
The problem must be painful and big. The solution must be innovative. Yeah, thank you. You should have competitors. If you don't have a competitor, please talk to your friend to become competitor. Anybody who don't have a competitor? I've been a founder before, and some of the solutions that I didn't have competitor, I was very happy about them. Just to realize they don't exist. The problems don't exist. The last one.
The solution should have impact and also revenue.
Yeah, the solution should have returns and revenue. So for 80, we sell returns and impact, not impact and returns. So when you are talking to a venture capital investor, they first want to hear returns, then you can talk about impact later. Yeah, I think that's good. We are doing well. In case there's any question, please, just feel free to interrupt. Then, we proceed that way. Yeah, so we were talking about investor readiness. So the first thing was we were saying that we need to ensure that our business is VC backable. So that's where we talked about all those problems and all those kind of things. I think the last point we were talking about was the team, that the team we need to really have a good team. And we say that investors are not investing in ideas. Most of the time they're investing in the team. Because investors believe that a great idea and a great solution on the hands of an average team may not see the light of day. Do you agree? You have a very good idea, but you are just an average person. You are just a normal person. Is that the right English? You are just an average, person. Yeah, that idea may not really see the light of day. It may be profitable, but not, very. But you have not a very good idea, but the founders are very great people. They have resilience. They have business experience. They have technology experience. They are passionate. They're able to turn around this idea and make it great. Are you seeing where we are coming from? Yeah, so the team really matters. And please, investors really love that if you are having a solution, maybe if you are working in a particular industry and your solution is that industry, then they're already seeing a founder market fit. So sometimes the way to navigate this, when you are recruiting your co-founders, these are the things you want to look at. If you have a technology solution and all of you studied economics and business, then that is a red flag. One of the ways to address this, you can always bring a co-founder or a CTO and you give them some shares, what we call ESOPs. and it's not, quite a lot and all that. So the team is very key for investors. But again, generally, your character, you've read in the news of founders who, they are, they raise a lot of funding. And their first stop was DT Dobby. Or they were traversing, the world, sleeping in very expensive hotels that even the investors themselves, they hope one day they'll be able to afford those hotels. So your character also really matters. And most of the times, part of the due diligence is on the team. Investors will call you for coffee. You've been just having coffee for 3 months. The guys, you are not progressing. They are in touch, but you are not moving. They are just trying to know you. Yeah, so they do a lot of due diligence on the team, which is very key. Because somebody is giving you $1 million, really. Yeah, so investment is like a marriage. Once an investor puts money in your business, they are there for 10 years. So you want to spend your life with somebody for 10 years. So you want to know them and you want to ensure they are the right people. Yeah, then the product market fit, working MVP with the traction. This is very important. The reason why you have a cool idea and investors are interested but they are not giving you money is because maybe you may not have, you may have an MVP, but without traction. Traction is very key. The only way for an investor to know that this idea works is when you have traction. The only way for them to know that there are people who are willing to use your solution and to pay for your solution is by having paying customers and some revenue. I was a founder of a fintech solution, and we had 5,700 users, but they were not willing to pay. So you can have users who are not willing to pay. So when we closed down the solution, when we closed down the company, customers were really complaining. They were on our neck. Why have you closed it? This thing was helping us and all that. But remember, they were not willing to pay. So traction is very key. Users who are, when we are talking about traction, most of the time what makes investors interested is that we have this number of users who are already paying. We've generated this in revenue. It might not be so much, but at least, and during the due diligence, they will talk to your users to hear their experience. And you really, so if your users don't really talk well about you, then there's a problem. What we call product market fit for, yes?
So you have the MVP and you need to have some traction, but again, maybe in your model, there's the freemium model. So why do I need to have users who are willing to pay when I've already figured out how I will earn from them from the freemium model? The second question related to that is, how many users do I require for me to validate or justify the MVP? Because sometimes you tell an investor I have 500, 600, and they're like, improve. So in your opinion, which is the recommended number of early testers of your product? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so you are saying you have a freemium model.
Yeah.
So the model is just to have users, then you figured out how they will. You'll make money from them.
Yeah.
Yeah, what investors will wait, they will wait for you to make that money. To reach that point of, they have used it for free, and now you're already generating some revenue from that. Yeah, so I think it depends with the, so what we are talking about paying users is whether they are, free users who you convert to paying customers. What they'll be waiting for is that they start paying. So they'll be looking at how many customers are already doing the payment. Then the other question was the number of users to validate. We may not have a particular number, but it depends with the solution you're offering. I always say that even if you have 10 customers who are using your solution and they're paying, then that is a good sign. So you may not be, you may not need to have 100 and all those kind of things. But the higher you have, the better.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, then product market.
So my question is about the fundraising. It's quite a challenge. As our Association of the Deaf, we have a company that teaches sign language, and we have clients coming. But most of them end up quitting, and I don't understand why. Probably the challenge is there's no enough human resource. So maybe I think we need to introduce a motivation for the deaf trainers to help attract the customers. So people are excited and motivated to come, and they can pay for the lessons. We need to know how we can get this, because it has always been constant and it's not growing, and I don't understand why.
Okay. I think for your question, we may sit down so that we get into details. Yeah, we may want to sit down, then we get into details of the business and the model so that we find what could be the issue. Yeah, so I think allow me to proceed. We may note down some questions that can come at the tail end of the presentation. So I was talking about product market fit. This one, people define it differently. What is product market fit? But I think a common agreement is that when you have users who are already recommending your solution to other users, then you may have achieved product market fit. In other words, you can grow organically. Yeah, so that investors love so much. When you are dealing with early stage investors, that may not be a requirement, but it's a very good sign. Then it's important to be clear on your funding needs. How much are you raising? How do you want to use the money? Investors don't love that you are raising money so that you be in operation. Are we together? Yeah, so you have to be very clear. It can be maybe for product development, you are developing a technology and you need some money to develop some bit of that technology. Or there are some key stuff that you need to bring in, maybe in the area of marketing, maybe a product manager, some key stuff that are missing that the business need, and all those kind of stuff. But investors don't love hearing that I'm raising money to continue operating or to offer this solution and all that. Or maybe you want to scale. You've achieved the product market fit and all that, and you want to scale. So you need to be very clear why you need the funding. But it's also important to be clear on the type of funding that you need. Is it debt funding? If your business is already profit making and you don't need a lot of money, then it will be easy to go for debt funding so that you minimize dilution. The more you fundraise, the more your shares reduces. And the more your shares reduces, the more you are not attractive to later stage kind of funding. Yeah, so you may want, if you're already profit making, you don't need a lot of money, and maybe the money you need, if you get that funding, you negotiate for some kind of grace period before you start repaying with some good interest, then that will be something to consider. Or equity. Yeah, so most startups go for equity. Maybe the target investors, the investors you are targeting, they're not only bringing capital, but they're bringing network, they're bringing expertise. If there are maybe investors who have been in the assistive technology space for a very long time, they have the network, they have the expertise, they have the technology and all that, then equity will be a good funding model for you. They're what we call convertibles. In other words, you are given money in terms of debt. With interest, you agree on the interest rate. But later, if you feel that you don't want to pay the debt, you want to reinvest the money into the business, then the capital plus the interest is converted into equity at the maturity. There is what we call save notes. Save notes is where the investor give you money and you do the valuation maybe after 2 years or 3 years, depending with the agreement. It's because it's quite difficult to do valuation for early stage startup. So you delay the valuation, you use the money. Then once the company reaches to a point that it's easy to do valuation, then you do the valuation. But there is always what is called, there's a cap as far as that is concerned. Yeah, so once you are clear on that, you need to know at what round you are raising. Is it pre-seed? Is it seed? You need to know how do you value your company at this point in time? What kind of equity, if you are giving equity, what percent and at what amount? And also be clear on the use of funds which you have talked about. Yeah, we can go to the next slide, unless there's a burning question as far as that slide is concerned. Yes?
I mean, with crowdfunding, I mean, you get money, but also you get market. So, would you advise for such a technique in the AT space?
Yeah, for me, if it can give you the money you require, the better. I think one of the disadvantages of that is when you are raising funding and getting an investor, you don't want an investor who will only bring the money and they disappear, they're waiting for their returns. You want an investor who will bring in, there's what we call portfolio post-investment value add or portfolio support strategy. So most of the venture capital firms, apart from the money they're giving you, they provide a lot of mentorship. They link you to their networks. They support you. They provide a lot of expertise along product, technology, and all that. Yeah, so I think the only disadvantage with the crowdfunding is that will be lacking because anybody who is interested will put in their money, and for them, what they're waiting for is returns. Yeah. Allow me. Can we just proceed and take the questions at the tail end? Is that okay? Or that is a very important question, just give him.
Yeah, thank you very much, big man. What I wanted to inquire is, I said prior, you say that when you're building a product, you have to make sure that you don't consider pricing as much as possible. But I have a product I'm designing. I already have competitors in the market. I already use the competitors' products. But I see the product they are giving me, it's a bit expensive. I can design the same product at a cheaper price because I have the team to design it. So can I use that as a competitive advantage or as a competitive advantage?
No. What happens if the competitor revises their pricing lower? You also revise lower. Then before you know it, you are out of business. So just design a product that is better, that a client will be willing to pay, at whatever price that you're offering, so long as they can see the value. But price competition is very dangerous direction. Yeah. Yeah, so once you are sure that you are ready for investment, you have a VC backable business model and all those kind of things, then you need to put your materials, investment materials in place. Things like business plan. Let me see how many have updated and ready business plans. Okay, 1, 2. So you mean, how many people are raising here? How many are fundraising? I'm talking to people who don't need money, most of them. Yeah, so business plan is very important. This is what gives the investor the vision of the business. So make sure you have an updated business plan, a pitch deck, financials, have the model, statements, projection, budgets. There is what we call one-pager or investment teaser. Because these guys don't have a lot of time to go through your pitch deck and all that, you can summarize the pitch deck into one page. Focusing on the key areas of the business, the problem, the solution, and all that. This is mostly what you share with the investors, and they can have an overview, and they'll be able to know this is a deal that I'll be interested in. Then after that, they can ask for a pitch deck, and all, as you go on, when you start the due diligence, then they'll want to see the business plan and all those kind of things. They'll ask you of the cap tables, term sheets, and all that. So just make sure that you have all those materials ready. Then the next slide, it's important to do what we call internal due diligence. Once an investor is interested, you've shared your one-pager or your pitch deck, and the investors have looked up to your pitch deck, and they are interested in this business. They think this is a good deal. Then they'll go into due diligence, just to be sure that what you are telling them is the truth, and it is really a good deal, and you are compliant. Investing in your business will not land them into problem with the regulators and all those kind of things. Yeah, so it is important that you do an internal due diligence on your business just to prepare for investor due diligence. I mentioned that once an investor is engaged, it is important that the process flow without interruption to the end. So when an investor starts their due diligence and they realize that you don't have, a sales and marketing strategy, then you stop. They're waiting for you to develop that. You come back after 2 weeks. Most likely those guys will have moved on. Are we together? Yeah, so it's important to have all the materials ready. And one of the best ways to ensure that you have everything in place is you first do internal due diligence on yourself. When investors are doing due diligence, they are looking for the reason why they should not invest in your business. So any slight, red flag, they'll capitalize on that. Remember, when you are engaging them, they have looked at your pitch deck, they are seeing a reason why they should invest in the business. So that is why they want to engage. But now the due diligence is more of looking for a reason why they should not. Anything that can be a red flag. So you don't want to engage an investor before you put your house in order. So this helps you to uncover some of the red flags and address them before you engage an investor. Are we together? Yeah, so there are different areas of due diligence. You need to have the company documents. Like for example, you may find a company you started with another name, registered by that name. Along the way, the innovation became sweeter, and you change the name. You got a very sweet name. So investor knows, let me use Signverse. But when they go to the documents, it is something consultancy, or it's a totally different name. You understand? And that's a very small thing that you just needed to update the document. So it brings a lot of questions and all that. Yeah, so please make sure that you have those. If you have a board, make sure that the minutes are there. The consents, board consents and actions. Make sure you have all your financials. This is a must. Make sure you have all your financial, the statements, the back statements, and all those kind of things. Make sure you have a sales and marketing strategy document that is outlining the sales process, the pipelines. For 80 startup, impact report is a must. Impact report is a must. Remember, we are about returns and impact. So impact report, we should have some impact reports, branding guidelines and all that. Next slide. Yeah, so if your solution or you have a product and you need an IP, things like trademark, IP, copyrights and all those kind of things, market research, please make sure that we assume that when you are coming up with this solution, you did market research and user research. So you should have that report. If it's not there, that it means you didn't do thorough market or user. Let me see how many have market research report somewhere that you did, a detailed report. So we are doing well. Yeah, we are doing well. The team, the details of the team, if you have employees, their details, personal details, their background, education background, work experience and all that, their CVs and all that. If you have consultants, then you should have, their details also, job description for each and every employee. What are the kind of roles that you want to hire for and all those kind of things. Product and technology, you need to have a very clear product roadmap, API documentation, system architecture, because they also do what we call technology due diligence. Yeah, tax, you must be compliant. Whether you are filing legal returns, you need to have those documentation that you are tax compliant. And insurance, if your product offering involve insurance, then you need to have those contracts. So it's important to do due diligence on yourself so that when the investor begin their due diligence, then you don't also get surprised. Sometimes an investor start doing due diligence, then the founder is also shocked. There's something, they uncover something that we've never seen. Are we together? Yeah, so we can proceed. Yeah, then all the documents that we've talked about, we need to have them in what we call an online deal room. So you can create an online deal room. Most people use Google Drive. Any online, any online tool you can use that you can share with the investors. So that enables you to share particular documents, give access to particular documents. The reason why this is important, that once the investors start their due diligence, once you share this, if they want business plan, they will find it, go through it. If they want, certificate of incorporation, sales and marketing strategy and all that, they'll just in one sitting sit down and look at them. There will be no back and forth that, share the business plan, share what, and all those kind of things. Yeah, so this is very important, and what helps us create this is the internal due diligence that we talked about and the investor documentations that we talked about. So once we have them, then we can put them in an online, repository, organized into sub-folders. Yeah, we can proceed. Yeah, so we are ready for investment. We have a VC-backable business model. We have the key investment documents, the pitch deck, one-pager, business plan, and all those ready. We've created our online deal. We've conducted an internal due diligence. Some of the gaps that we've discovered, we've addressed them, and we are ready. So we want to start engaging. We want now to start approaching investors. Yeah, so before we start reaching out to investors, it will be important to create a database of suitable investors. Not every investor who gives out money is suitable for you. Yeah, so depending with the industry, you don't want to reach out to an investor who is investing in fintech, and you are providing, employability. Your solution is 80 in employability. And you reach to 10 investors who are investing in fintech. How many will invest? How many will invest? None. So we want to, generate a list and contact of suitable investors, depending with your solution. Most IT startups fall, IT startups are quite diverse. So if you are in the education, then investors who are in EdTech, investors who are in inclusivity, investors who are in technology and all that. So you can have a list of, sectors. Who can I use? Whose solution can I use to curate? I heard somebody was providing e-learning something and all that. That can fall under impact. So investors who are in, investing in education technology, they'll be suited. That can fall under impact. Investors who are focusing on impact investing, they'll be there. That can still fall under technology in general. So investors who invest in technology solutions, they will be part of that. That can still fall under inclusion, inclusivity. Investors who are focusing on, issues of inclusion and all that, they'll be there. And there are some few investors who are, they have understood the assistive technology, and they are 80 investors. Then that can still fall under what we call sector agnostic. In other words, when an investor said that sector agnostic, it means any solution that can give them return, they'll be willing to invest. So once you list, in terms of investors, where your solution falls. So we've listed EdTech investors, we've listed impact investors, we listed technology investors, we've listed investors in inclusivity, we've listed investors under sector agnostic. Then we now want to look for these investors and, come up with a database. Yeah, then when we are choosing the investors, let's understand their investment thesis. That is what I was talking about, the different sectors. But again, also, the round. They are investing at what round? So an investor who is investing from Series A will not be suited for you if you are raising pre-seed. Are we together? Yeah, the guys are writing $10 million and above. You need 100,000 USD. So when you reach out to those guys, that is too small money. It's a lot of work for them. They don't even want to read your pitch deck. Yeah, so you need to understand the rounds that they are investing. Are they pre-seed, seed, or whatever? So that you make sure that when you are reaching out, then you are reaching out to somebody who is most likely going to engage. Their ticket size. If I'm raising 500,000 at pre-seed, then I need to know that the investors are within their ticket is within that range. So if I'm raising 500,000 and I get an investor who is writing 100,000, that's still fit. Because the fundraise, you'll have many investors. But if I'm raising 500,000 and I get an investor who is writing 1 million, then that is not a fit. Sometimes there can be, if the ticket size, they are not far apart in terms of what you are raising and what the investor is giving, then you can still engage, because if your business is too good, then they can be, they can, they can be an exclusion. Yeah, then the issues of the investment criteria. Yeah, so there can be investors who are focusing in East Africa. There can be investors that is focusing purely in West Africa. There can be investors that is focusing in the entire of Africa. So you can have a very good investor. You tick all the boxes in their investment criteria, but they're focusing in the Southern Africa. So they will not really, if you're operating in the East Africa, then they will not really invest. So you need to really need to know that. Yeah, so I think most AT startup, I've seen L-Tech, most of them L-Tech, impact, tech, education, mobility, climate. I think I've also seen climate. I think you do electric vehicles, so that still fall under climate tech. There's a guy who manufacture wheelchairs, electric wheelchairs. That is still under climate. So it depends with the solution. They can fall under many categories. So you need to list your categories. Where do you get investors? There are a lot of online databases, investor databases. So you can leverage those. Then ecosystem events. Investors love events like these ones. I believe they will be there. There will be 80 Village. Tomorrow we'll be having 80 Village where we'll have some investors. So ecosystem events. If you're fundraising, then you have to go to events, please. Both free and paid. Both free and paid. Then competitors, investors. One of the easiest way also to get the right investors, go to your competitors that have raised funding. Check which investors participated in that. Most likely you are aligned. Then approach them. Are we together? Approach them. They will be able to, if you have a good solution, they'll be able to invest. Next slide. Yeah, so investor engagement. So you've come up with a list of suitable investors. You need to start engaging the investors. So before you reach out to investor, it is important to understand whether it's the right time. Have the list, it will help you keep it. Remember we said fundraising is a long-term thing. But now these investors, before you engage, try to understand if it's the right time to engage. For example, there could be an investor that they have closed their previous fund, they are now fundraising. Then you reach out to them. Fundraising will take them around 12 months. So the possibility that this investor will put in money in the next 12 months is very low. So maybe they'll do the fundraising, complete it, then take another 12 months to deal source, do their due diligence and deploy. So, and at that point in time, they still don't have the money, so it may not be a very good time to reach out to them. And this details, you find them online. This investor is raising their third fund. This amount, they'll be investing this, to these startups, these particular startups, and this, ticket size. So it's important to do research and understand whether the investor is fundraising. If the investor is deal sourcing, it means they are fundraised, and they're looking for startups to invest. So that is a very good time to engage. That is a very good time to engage. If the investor is deploying capital, it means maybe, they have gotten some startups, and therefore they are closing that. But again, it's still a good time to invest, to engage, because capital deployment is continuous. Yeah, so it's important to understand that, so that when you are reaching out, then you are sure that this is the right time. Yeah, so I said that one of the ways is to share an investment teaser, just a one-pager, highlighting your business, the problem you're solving, the solution, the market size, and all those kind of things. Those things that we have in the pitch deck, summarize in one page with graphics, graphs, pie charts, very nice graphics. That somebody will have just an overview look, and they're already interested. From there, an investor will ask you of pitch deck, they go deeper. So an investment teaser is like a summary of a pitch deck, summarize. A pitch deck is like a business plan, summarize. Are we together? So they are the same document. Once you have the business plan, it is easy to create a pitch deck and to create an investment teaser. So most of the time you share the teaser because the investor may not have time going through all the slides. So the teaser summarizes that in one page. Then they'll ask you for a pitch deck. If they're interested, then once you go to the due diligence, then you'll be sharing, the business plan and all those kind of things. One of the best ways to get funding or to get investor engagement is through referral.